Hey guys, it's Sean Ryan here with Downshift Esports back for your Week 5 track guide. We move across to the other circuit here in West Virginia, the full course at Summit Point Motorsports Park. For the setup today, we're using the Olton Park setup. It's a fairly similar track. The only change is we don't have those rolling chicanes, but otherwise a lot of the corners feel very similar, and I couldn't really find any changes that I liked to use, so I kept the setup for the same. Um, so anyway, without further ado, I'm going to let the lap play, and then we'll break it down in parts. Okay. All right, so starting the lap, we have this long front straight here, and I mean, pretty self-explanatory. It's gonna be flat out. Would you calm down? All right, it's gonna be pretty flat out until we get to the braking zone here. You got cones on the left-hand side, which is nice, helps us pick our braking point out pretty easily here. So typically I'm looking for these two cones. Really safe place to brake is at those two, but you can push it a little bit deeper. Um, the one thing to note is while you may be able to push all the way to the one cone, it's not advisable. I haven't been able to get the same exit velocity out and onto this back straight, so you really want to keep the momentum up. So by braking earlier, we allow the car to get off the brakes a little bit quicker and get back on the throttle. So you see a brake just past this two cone here, and we go up, and we're braking pretty heavy, and we want to keep the car fairly straight right up until we pass this one cone. You can start to see I turn it very gently up at the top and then start trailing off these brakes, and I kick the car down into third gear. Then when we're down into third gear, we're still going to keep coming off the brakes. We want to follow this gray piece of tarmac here. It's kind of they're located at all different sections of the track where they've resurfaced these little strips. It's a really good indicator of where the line should be, and you really want to try and follow these pretty closely. I go a little bit inside of this just to kind of hug it tight. Um, Again, as we did last week, when we come around these hairpin corners, we really want to trail these brakes out. I'm doing it around 5% here, and you just kind of want to hang on to that brake all the way till about the apex when we're going to drop off the brakes and we're going to start finding the throttle pedal. And we're going to follow this gray piece out all the way along the inside and then just pull the car back to the right hand side of the track, cutting out all that distance. I found that I can leave the car and let it wash out, and I do kind of carry enough speed that it levels out, but I find that this is much more repeatable for me to just hold it in tighter like this. So as we come up to the next section of the track, it's again flat out all the way down the straight, and we're gonna go all the way down in this corner here. Turn 3 is also flat out. Turn in pretty early. You turn in late, you're not going to make the corner. You kind of just want to aim for the curb. Try to stay not like fully on it. You just kind of want to kiss it a little bit and then out to this curb and straighten the wheel. The more you crank the wheel, the more steering lock you have on it, the more the tires are going to scrub and the more speed you're going to lose. So, highly recommend just turning in early, letting the car guide yourself around the corner and pick your spots without oversteering the car. Um, it'll help on tire wear, even though it's not a huge factor in these races, and it'll also save time on the exit here. So as we come out of that corner, we're just going to straight line it, cutting distance instead of doing any bow angles here. I don't need to stay all the way out wide here. This corner is fairly simple. So still just straight lining straight towards the apex, cutting as much distance as possible, turning in here. And then there's a small little crest here. Um, Typically, as soon as I round this crest, I find myself braking, and it's fairly risky if you go any farther past this crest. So to be safe, if you just like try to brake on the crest itself, that's probably going to be the most conservative braking point. Actually, here I brake on the crest, so maybe even optimal. You don't want to push this any deeper. The deeper you push, this corner here is probably the easiest corner of the entire track to lose the back end under braking. There's a lot of braking that happens even up until the tip-in point. So you just want to be really careful that you don't over push the car into this corner. So as we see here, like I'm coming off the gas right as we come up to this lip, and right when I see the exit of the lip and we start to crest over it, I'm jumping on the brakes. I jump on them really hard here, um, but you need to be careful not to lock up. I'm at 100% very briefly, but very quickly coming back from that to avoid locking up down to 75. And as we start turning in, you can see my brake pressure is trailing off even further here. If we're braking at 75 right when we start to turn in at this point, it's almost a guarantee that we're going to lose the car. So really want to be careful that our brake pressure is coming off as we're turning in, or we're getting off the brakes entirely, and we've gotten all of our braking done. So again, you can see I'm down to this 5% level right at the apex, and um, I get on the gas a little bit early, probably a little too early to be honest with you. That's why it kind of rounds off here and I hover before getting fully on it. But again, as we're coming into this corner, we really want to be sighting these gray patches of tarmac and following them through. Uh, Really good guide for your line, and it's going to be the quickest way around too, is following these gray patches. Um, After we come out of this corner, we're going to cut it all the way back over to the left here, and then brake just slightly, just enough to get the car stable and planted for the corner. And then we're just going to use these brakes and glide through the corner. Again, this 5% tool that I use, I'm going to keep saying it again and again and again. It's going to sound like a broken record, but if you can learn this 5% brake pressure here right when we're braking through the corner into the apex, it's so critical to find those extra tenths um, to get the car rotated and to continue your braking all the way to the apex. It just helps the car so much. And really finding this last little bit is going to help your lap times a lot. So we get to the apex here, and again, you can see I get on it probably a little bit too early. I probably want to be either apexing a little bit later or just waiting for the car to rotate a little bit more, because anytime you see me jump on the gas like this and then have to wait like I do here, it's time lost. So um, you can notice that I kind of like have to delay again, and then you get back out. And again, this corner, as the other ones do, we also have like this nice gray patch of tarmac. So we're going to follow this, and we're going to just hang on to the right side of it, and then just all the way on the right edge of the tarmac, all the way out. And then we cut it back and try and cut as much distance as possible. We really want to try to avoid letting the car wash out. Um, it just is more distance to the left that we don't need, so we're just trying to cut as much distance as possible without scrubbing the tires too much. These next few corners, they're just flat out, no big deal. As we come out of turn 9 here, I don't let the car go all the way out. Instead, I get back over to the right because the track kind of makes its way left or to the right really early. So I just kind of straight line myself out under the bridge, and then I'll start to set up the car for the turn in. And you can see, pretty much going straight all the way down. I've already made my way all the way over to the left. If I started all the way over on the left here, I'm just adding distance to the lap. So it's distance that I don't need. It's probably like 1 or 2 hundredths. It's not a big deal, but ultimately, those 1 or 2 hundredths could make the difference. So we come out and I start setting up right on the white line. And you can kind of see right on the entrance to turn 10 here, there's a little like light gray patch. Um, I kind of use this little dirt patch here as my turn-in mark, and I just kind of want to dip my throttle very gently just to get the car turned. You can see that it kind of comes down to like 75% on entry here, just ever so slightly. Too much of a lift or a full lift, you'll lose too much speed. It's you very just this gradual little tiny lift on entry, and you just kind of use the car's grip to go around. And you can let the car run all the way out here. You won't get an off track. I didn't use all of it. That's probably some time lost there. But all the way out to the sands, fair game. Um, if you're looking at my telemetry, it's doing weird things because my gas pedal is having issues right now and doesn't want to give me full throttle when I tell it to. But otherwise, it's 100% throttle to the end of the lap. Um, this was a minute 27.6. Um, if you guys have any further questions, feel free to reach out in the run up to the race. I'll be around in the Discord. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.